Right, everybody. I will take my phone out of here quickly. I can just have it on my computer. Here we go. Thank you, Mr. Ruskoff. Um, so, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Compassionate Citizen. Oh, and Mr. Kitty. Hi to Mr. Kitty. Compassionate Citizen, where we talk about compassion, compassion, and bringing compassion into all parts of life. My name is Emily, and one of those here, along with Kurt Roskoff, who is not here at the moment. But I am also joined by another one of our co-hosts, Jennifer A. Whitaker. And I think I am hearing background noise. So pass it over. Yeah, I thought I heard something, but I'm gonna pass it over to you. You want to say hello or anything like that? Oh, let me just. So this. You want You want to say hello or anything, Jennifer?
Yeah, sorry, I lost a connection for me. You know how I kind of come and go. And anyway, so you were quiet and I couldn't tell if you were still speaking. Hey, everybody. Thank you for listening. Please tune in with us if you have a moment. And if you're busy, please put this on a watch later list or a favorite. And be sure to check out our episode when you get a chance later today. And please share it on social media. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear what everybody has to say, your friends, family, whoever else you want to share with, colleagues at work, whoever. I am Jennifer A. Whitaker, the author, and I am here with some new announcements, such as this book that many of y'all have been waiting to come out is now officially on my website. It's also on Amazon. You can go to Google and look up books by Jennifer A. Whitaker, and you'll find my Amazon page that has all of my books in one place. You will see this is the latest release. It's called Secret to Success, and it's about changes in the educational system, public education specifically, and how that has led to our modern day issue with shortage of people with the proper skills to do various jobs in our workforce. That's why a lot of companies are hiring, continue to hire, but there's also issues with other people not getting jobs. You have anything to announce, Emily?
I guess the biggest thing for me at the moment, as far as announcements, is that the Happy Neighborhood Project, or HNP, is having a Global Happiness Summit on Friday, October 7th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific, or noon to 6 p.m. Eastern. And I would encourage everybody to get a ticket and join us. We are going to have like music, entertainment, speed networking, among other things. So it will be
And to also share this Happy Neighborhood Project event with anybody else who you know who may be possibly interested in joining us.
Yes, that as well. So that's my So contact me if you are interested in that. But I think that's my only biggest announcement at the moment.
Well, we'd also like to announce that if you see or would like to look up Jaws Coffee Chat, that is creating social media pages, you may see also some social medias called Jennifer A. Whitaker, or you can Google Jennifer A. Whitaker and see different tag names on different social medias that contain that. And you will be able to hear this announcement of when a new podcast comes out that I, author Jennifer A. Whitaker, will own as well as host. And that's another place where you also find Kurt Roscoff and Emily Gomer, as they will also be participants of Jaws Coffee Chat once it officially launches. We're anticipating it to come anytime between later September through sometime in October, depending upon how long necessary to develop the website for it. But we are all in the works. Progress is being made. And do you know anything going on, Emily, that may pertain to them in our project? Pertain to listeners?
Keep putting myself on mute. I encourage everybody to tune in to the Jaws Coffee Chat when we do launch in the next however many
4 to 6 weeks, maybe.
However many months or weeks or whatever.
But keep following us here in World of Ability to hear when it officially launches.
Yeah, keep tuning in to find out for more updates on the newly formed Jaws Coffee Chat podcast coming to a screen near you.
Social media. It will also be, when this is launched, you will find it on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and all kinds of other places where you find podcasts and or videos.
And so, is that it for announcements for today's episode?
Well, it may be, but if we need more content, I got 4 books with me that I can share. The one I did and 3 others. What do you think?
I think that would be a good thing to kind of refresh everybody about who you are and about all your books and that kind of thing.
All right, everybody. So I already have shown you Secret to Success, the evolution of public education in the workforce. Alrighty then. And here's another one that's available as audiobook as well as paper book. How Do I Know God is Real, Volume 1. You will see if you look it up on Amazon or you find it on some other websites that it now has a blue cover. We updated it, but it's still the same thing. Same book called How Do I Know God is Real, that is about faith in Christ, going to Him, finding Him to find direction in your life, and ultimately the Christian faith. I am a Christian writer in addition to educational and writing about my disabilities, at least how I overcome them, that aspect of them. And speaking of disabilities, here's Volume 1 of Dealing with Autism. This is about how I overcame autism to be able to be sitting here working this job instead of sitting on a check. And this also addresses part 1 to the support system, like friends, family, and whoever else, about the main hurdles with autism, communication, literal, non-literal, etc. Different verbal things, different tones of voice, and other factors. That's how we struggle, why we struggle. And also it teaches a support system how to help us overcome it. And then part 2 is towards the autistic themselves, that teaches them what they can do to make progress on their end by learning communication, ways to learn communication via books and other methods that I address in this book. So that's another book you will find on jensbooksandmore.com after we get the website finished. But then again, jawscoffeechat.com and jensbooksandmore.com will be the same website with different pages. So you will find both podcasts and videos, as well as finding books and other professional services that we offer. And then here's to what's the last book I will name. Emotional Roller Coaster, Young Adulthood. This is a collection of poetry. It's my bestseller. It's also the first book I wrote from age 16 to age 21, originally releasing at age 22, my first time. It's my bestseller among the 4 I have shown you. And it's also a collection of poetry that's fiction, exaggerated, dramatic, and takes you for a ride. So all these will be available in audiobook as well as paper books at www.jensbooksandmore.com after we have a website. And that will be the same place to find JAWS, JAWS, coffeechat.com, where you'll find the videos and podcasts. Where you want to go, Emily? What's on your mind?
Well, kind of maybe talking about compassion. Maybe something along the lines of maybe like compassion and people with disabilities.
Well, do we have anything new going on at the Disability Channel or the World of Ability? Anything new that's new things to help those find compassion or to learn to overcome and be motivated to overcome their disability and or get back to work? Do we have any new resources going on? New podcasts or anything?
Not that I am aware of at the moment, but the website is thedisabilitychannel.ca. For more information and whatever about the Disability Channel.
And it's .ca because it's based out of Canada, not the US.
Correct.
Any soon to be guest members we know coming in the next so many episodes?
I believe we have somebody coming in on Saturday who's been on our shows a few times before. And
You know her name?
Somebody by the name of SJ.
All right then. SJ has been on here before, and honestly, I met with him in a one-on-one, talking about him being on my podcast when it comes out. So, listeners, you may be familiar with SJ, who is somebody who talked about helping people get from point A to point B. But he had different tactics. He's not a consultant. He's not a tutorer. He's not a teacher. He kind of has his own line of things. And to know what that line of things is, you're going to have to tune back in on Saturday at what time?
At 3 o'clock Eastern.
Alrighty, and that's 2 p.m. Central.
Or noon Pacific.
There we go. And that's this coming Saturday. That is, today is right now September 21st of 2022. So that's in give or take 3 days from now.
It's on September 24th.
There we go. That's when he'll actually be here. That's when we'll find SJ, and we'll find out about his curious, interesting story of what in the world he does.
Yes. So how did your 1-on-1 go with him?
It was productive. He was interested, and he's going to think about the budget, think about the idea, think about what all he's got going on and how much time they'll consume, and decide if he pursues being on Jaws Coffee Chat as a topic of a series, or if he sticks to his current tactics of finding and meeting new people and or listeners that he hopes to help via his interesting, specialized, created professional service.
Okay then. But
I
yeah,
think that's why he needs to be heard, is because his service, his professional service, does not fall under tutoring, business advising, business consulting, professional advice, nothing. He has his own thing, and that's why it's so interesting that it's such a catch that you got to hear it to figure out what in the world would you call it.
you have to hear it to believe it, or
Yeah, kind of.
see it to believe it, whatever the phrase is.
Yeah, here to believe it's a whatever phrase, and to even come up with how would you describe it. Because he tells me, I told him how I was a tutor and I was a business consultant, and I told him how, well, I know we do this and this in this certain way. And he said, I get there from point A to point B. And I'm like, so how do you do that? Do you teach them skills, or do you train them, or do you give them advice, or etc.? You remember that episode, Emily?
Something.
And then I asked him, and he said, where would you like to be in, I forget if he said 6 months or a year. And I said, well, I would like to more than double my income. And remember when he asked me, well, how will you do that? So then I said about creating the podcast.
Yeah.
And so it goes from there. And then he basically said to me, well, you don't need my service. You already know how to get from point A to point B. Do you remember that?
I don't know if I remember that specific line, but I sort of remembered the conversation, though.
Okay, so that was him.
Yeah.
That was SJ. He's got a different last name, but SJ is like his initials for his first and middle name. That's what he goes by. But there you go. So he has been here on World of Ability before. Or in this case, Compassionate Citizens episode on Wednesdays.
Yes. So did he have any suggestions for you, or are you guys going to meet again to discuss anything? Or
So I'm waiting to hear back from him. He said he was going to think about it. So I may need to follow up with like an email or a text, but we can talk about that later. And talk about when is a good time and if and what we should ask and so forth. You and I can meet later or wait till next week's meeting, whatever. But it's kind of interesting because he said he wanted to think about it and go over it and look at his budget and other factors, but still haven't heard anything. And it was in August when we saw him on Compassionate Citizens. So it's give or take a month, depending upon what exact week of August that he was on here with us last time. And he had told me when we met after it that he had already been on here 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So some listeners who hear us right now may have an idea.
Oh, he froze. So yeah, SJ is SJ is a good guy. I encourage everybody to, if they get a chance to meet him.
Definitely.
That'd be cool.
Definitely. And when it comes to compassion, some people like him have plenty to share in their very unique ways. And when it comes to compassion, I also got to say, when you've been a victim of a crime like I was this weekend, you really learn what compassion is, and you really come to see what are the true colors of the world around you, friends, family, and so forth. Like when I got flooded with so many texts and phone calls when I ended up in the emergency room. Like there's sometimes we don't welcome it, but we end up finding out just how compassionate people are in return to us. Well, we already know how compassionate we feel to the people around us, friends, family, brothers and sisters within church or other religious organizations, colleagues, co-workers, all kinds of people that we see every day.
Don't worry. But I guess it's also um, going along with the. I think it's also going along with the like phrase. Um, when something happens, you find out who your real friends are.
Yeah.
So,
When you go through
along those lines.
I think the saying says, it's not till you go through trials that you realize who your real friends are. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, yeah. It's some. I think there might be different readings of it, but it's kind of the
Okay.
same idea. Um, but I don't mean for you to go into um, many details if you don't want to. But what happened um,
Well,
this weekend
honestly,
for you?
we had to get the county sheriffs involved. So I can't say what county, what sheriffs. I can't say who did what because honestly, part of my agreement with turning it into the cops was I would not disclose to anybody who did what.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna say what you can. If there's anything you can say about it. Um,
Well, let's just definitely say who I experienced this with is a repetitive offender.
oh,
So this is kind of one of those where we go with the idea of compassion and we say, why is the system so compassionate with people having freedom that are the repetitive offenders that are the ones who don't have compassion for those of us who want to obey and live within the law,
yeah,
helping one another, being loving versus attacking, and so forth.
yeah,
And that's kind of like one of those political topics, but it's also kind of like, we wonder why do they care so much about those certain people having their freedom? And then like if you've ever watched let's say First 48 Hours, and you know how you can watch that and it's a true crime show. Those are real criminals who did real crime, who's actually arrested and so forth. And if you've ever seen it, you've seen how they actually post, what they were convicted of and how many years they had to serve probation or jail or whatever, right? So we wonder sometimes if you watch that series, why did this one serve 40 years and this one got life? And they had the same crime.
yeah,
And that's the reality is that we're like, how is it that some people can just get away and get away with the lack of compassion? And that's why they do whatever they do, stealing, selling drugs to other people, knowing that these drugs are dangerous and will kill people, like heroin and stuff from overdose that actually kills people, and other things like that. They're crimes, and there's a reason it's considered a crime. There's a reason it's that's somehow it hurts somebody else, like theft and stealing hurts the economy because it hurts that business that's trying to profit from selling that item or the labor of a professional service performed by the whoever that they attacked.
yeah. Um. Oh. Okay then. Um. um but there are always. I'm sure there are always exceptions to
Every rule.
to the rule, but you'd think there'd be kind of like a uniform,
Like
whatever,
some sense of,
like a uniform whatever across the board. So whatever, for whatever crime it is, or no matter who it is, like they would get the same like number of years in jail, or
and
like
like type of penalty.
yeah, like the same number of years in jail, or same amount of
Probation or whatever else is a penalty, right?
this like the same outcome for like the same. Right, but there are certain
But you know what I think this all shows?
what I mean.
Judges
I'm sure there are always going to be an exception, special
judges are
exceptions,
human.
but
So,
I mean in general. But what?
yeah, I mean, like it shows that judges are human. So what I think may differentiate, but we both are judges with both law background or whatever. That's not us personally, but it's an example of two different ones. You know what I'm saying? It proves they're human, and their rationale is only that of a human mind that analyzed and came to whatever degree of judgment of the person being a threat, to what degree to be life in prison versus, okay, give them this many years and then they can have a chance again by, after however many being set free.
Yeah, it's like treating everybody fair, kind of the whole treat everybody kind of fairly. It's like everybody gets the same. Outside of the being special cases or special exceptions,
Right, and some of those
that everybody else kind of knows if they do this, this is what they're getting. Like,
Mhm.
and it's going to be different for like every single person.
Right, and sometimes those special cases are because some of us are mentally ill, so the court determines we need treatment versus just being evil people and evil character. That it's our condition, so we need to get it controlled via medication by being put in a mental hospital or on probation with the agreement that we'll go through, let's say, anger management, counseling, or whatever kind of treatment, because they see ours as medical and we need treatment. We don't need jail time. We're ill worsened because we don't have the medical care we need. So those are part of those exceptions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that sounds rational to me, because if mine is medical, I'd rather get treatment and be able to have freedom than somebody who has nothing medical going on but just is simply evil.
Right.
And I think that's part to do with why the laws are, at the discretion of a human,
Yeah.
Not say it.
Which humans aren't perfect, so the
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. The whole
not
thing,
always going to be perfect, but kind of in general.
right? And that's why I'm saying the whole thing about, and it's a human making the judgment, and that's why it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's like also other reasons it's inconsistent has to do with states, like state laws, where some allow you to, let's say, to bear arm versus others don't allow it at all. And this may be changing because of recent things that have happened with our national laws. But that's just an example of where different states have different laws.
Yeah, there were some states don't have certain things that states do, other states do, or have it on like a different level of
Right.
whatever than a different state does.
And that can also be by the city or town and or county variance. So being located somewhere else, person A can get one penalty and person B can get another penalty because they're in another city or another state or something.
Yeah. And all of that also, I guess, sort of depends on like who the judge is or who the jury is,
Location.
that kind of thing too.
Mm-hmm. Who they are. Sometimes it has to do with, in the who they are, it has to do with, well, how experienced are they and how familiar are they with the law? and the law that says if you commit this certain offense that you're to serve between this and that many years. That's the correlation of consequence variance to offense. Like when they're younger, when judges are younger, which we all start off young, so that has happened, but when they are younger, generally they're less experienced, so they're going to make more errors.
Yeah,
Just
like,
on their
like,
learning
like
curve.
when they first start out as being a judge versus others who've been doing it for many, many years.
Right, that's why I say younger, because of thinking that since it's one of those jobs that once they get it, they have it for life. That it's not always, but often those that are less experienced are the younger ones because they go into it at whatever stage in life. And of course, while they stay in it, they're aging, right? But then there can be people where that's their second career. So they're already in their 40s, 50s, or whatever when they end up first time in the seat.
Yeah.
Do you have any interesting stories?
Um, like about what?
Compassion, interaction with people that you think of compassion and or the need of more people to be more compassionate. That's where I was originally going with that.
Um, Not sure if I have any. Not really thinking of any specific stories at the moment. But I guess sort of going along with what we were just talking about. Um,
I think crime
kind of,
would be
kind of in general, like treating everybody the same or with respect, and when no matter if the person has like a disability or not.
or difference because of race, ethnic, or other group, religion, etc.
Yeah.
But to be loving, compassionate, welcoming, or at least polite, even if they're not somebody you necessarily like, but you give them respect and are polite and kind to them.
Because you never know what um, whatever will come back to you, I guess.
Could come back to you. And then there's also that you never know when you encounter them again, because what it, there's something that says that we have six senses, or is it's a circle of six or something like that, but basically it means that whoever you cross today, as far as like interaction, encounter, and so forth, you will one day later in life come across them again. So if you are some way that's not loving, compassionate, welcoming, appreciative, grateful, you could end up that you get a backfire when you come across that same person at another chapter in life.
Yeah. Yeah, so depending on where they are in their life at that moment as well.
Well, but the key is we don't know if they will.
We don't know.
But if they'll be taunted by it, but there may be some regret if they aren't compassionate, loving, and caring.
Because we don't know how much. Unless if maybe they sort of say something, but even then, we don't really know like how, like whatever we do or say, what kind of effect it really has on somebody,
and or that backfiring on us, right?
and so, um, I just kind of lost my sort of train of thought with that. But yeah, so if we do come across somebody, especially if we haven't really kept in touch with them, and depending on how long it's been, like, either
Well,
way,
and I can,
we don't know what's going on in their life at that any particular moment.
well, and they don't know that about
Yeah,
us to
yeah,
necessarily
and
know we're having
us
a bad
either.
day
Yeah,
versus being evil.
yeah, and so depending on, yeah. Um,
Well, and then there's
but
the I,
but then even as something as simple as um, something as simple as just like smiling at somebody walking. I mean, for all you know,
dog by your house.
that could make somebody's day, even if they don't
Yeah,
actually like verbally say anything
acknowledge
to
it.
you about it.
Well, and then I think, okay, so what if, say, you and I right now on this podcast touched somebody metaphorically, like it touched home, it reached them, it had an impact on them. And then you never know when that could be the person we see tomorrow on the Thursday show or some other time in the future that we didn't interact with them doing this right now. We didn't even know they were listening or so forth, but we still impacted somebody that you never know when we could come across them later and they could end up being one of our guests or some other area of life where we encounter them.
Or we might not even um, know or see the person at all either.
True, but it doesn't mean we didn't impact them. Like you were saying
Yeah,
about the smile with the person walking a dog.
yeah. Because they could have, all of us could have said something that really they either agreed with or you know it struck a chord with them somehow. And
Yeah, and sometimes that chord can be a bad thing, but we don't know. And sometimes we'll never know, which is like you were saying, which is it struck a bad chord, but we never encountered them again. So, and like with some,
or we didn't even really interact with them in the first place. Like if it was just somebody walking by and we just smiled at them, like we had no interaction that way. Like we wouldn't really know if we made their day or didn't make their day or anything like that. With just that simple thing.
or maybe it didn't even impact them at all because they were like in deep thought and looked, but wasn't really acknowledging.
Yeah,
You know, like you're in deep thought and you're staring at something really hard and you don't really see what you're looking at.
yeah, or yeah. You don't see the everything around you. Just kind of
Yeah, because you're,
like tunnel. I don't know about tunnel vision, but
well, it could be tunnel vision because we're in deep thought, not necessarily like someone that regularly is that way, like myself with autism. You know, that I may always be that way with my autism because it's part of our, you know, the symptoms of it is that we tend to be very tunnel vision, be very hardcore focused on whatever we decide to give our attention to. But then there's other people that they have peripheral vision, they use it, and they keep an eye all around them of all things going on around them. But then once they get really focused on something with work, all this they don't process because they're really focused on the computer and so forth. Where it's when we get really deep thought, it could even be while walking a dog and you're staring at the car going by,
yeah,
and they happen to smile while they're staring at that car, but they didn't process that you were right there smiling back at them.
yeah. Um, and do you have any any other like stories or anything that you would like to share?
So something, I just came from seeing my therapist. I'm not ashamed to say that I do see a mental health therapist, but something she made, um, a point about was that, when you go through hardships, like what I went through this weekend, I gave a, general overview of. Those are different hardships in life. It doesn't have to be a crime to be a hardship, but once we go through them, we can always let them make us better or bitter. And when it comes to compassion, you need to pick the better. Because you pick the bitter and you will not be compassionate. Neither will you be loving, caring, welcoming. You'll tend to be more judgmental and other things that are a presence of the lack of compassion. But something we study, whether it's by religion or it's motivational speaking or different areas of life, is that we all will go through a hardship, multiple hardships even. Different people, different types of hardships. So we can't avoid all hardships, but we can make wise decisions that help us eliminate some. But for those we go through, we can let them make us better instead of bitter. And that's part way of being compassionate. Let it make you better. So you are better towards the other people. You're more welcoming and more thankful for the people you do have that are good to you, instead of deciding you're going to be a better person towards everybody around you just because of what that one person did.
Yeah. And also, like, each person goes through like the same experience or a similar experience differently than everybody else. And so, but one thing would maybe help one person with maybe overcoming that hardship and not work with somebody else. Because each person has their own
Method?
yeah, like one way of dealing with stuff. Like each person is going to have their own. Like not everybody's going to have the same experience, even though it might be the same.
We may have different experiences.
Same situation. Even if it's like the same situation, everybody's going to have a slightly different like experience of it.
That's true. We may have different perceptions of the same story. You know how they often say when there's a fight or a fuss, like let's say when we're in elementary, and they often say that the real truth lies in between the two stories.
Yeah, because there's always like two sides of a story. Like each person's
and
side of it.
that's true. And each person has their own perception of that same truth. Kind of like we're talking about the idea of a judge and in court. Well, the defendant says one thing happened. The plaintiff says another thing, and whether it's a jury or a judge, they have to figure out what actually happened that's somewhere in between.
Yeah, so yeah, if it's same going with how much of what each person said is the truth of what really happened, if at all, and
Right.
if I put all the pieces of the story together. So it can be. I'd think it would be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
During that kind of work, especially depending on the people involved or the situation. That each person,
Yes.
their case on each case is different.
In a sense, we go through that process in our everyday life, whether it's a fuss with a sister, and then it's our parents were telling the story too, and the sister says one and we say the other, or even with a brother. It could be with the best friend, and then another friend that you ask to be the middleman to say, well, what should we do here that because this and that happened? Can you help us figure out, how to resolve this, right?
Yeah.
But still, that there's always somebody that is being a judge At least when we go about the right way, like getting parents involved, if not necessarily cops, right? Or getting a mutual friend involved, possibly the
Yeah,
boss if
like
it has to do with the job.
yeah, it doesn't necessarily be a judge, like somebody coming in being like neutral,
Right.
whether or not that's a judge or somebody else, but having uh, somebody like staying neutral, not siding with one or the other, and hopefully
Right. I
helping
guess what
with
I was saying is
resolving.
kind of encountered this idea of being in a trial or a judgment, whether we're the judge or we're the two people to the different story, two people to the story. It's kind of something we experience in our everyday life without necessarily being in court.
Yeah, that's the which side of the story, like how how much of the story is true, and yeah, I don't think that being a judge or anything would be um, the best fit for me as a career for like a career.
No, but then there's
I
lots
don't
of
know about
different.
you, but it wouldn't be my it wouldn't be like my top choice or anything like that. That's for
Oh
sure.
heck no! But I'm just saying that there's a sense to where we are judged in our
Yeah,
everyday life. You see
yeah,
what I'm saying? Or we are the people playing the two sides, even though
yeah,
we are not by career.
yeah.
We have
I know, I
challenges
get
in
what you're
life.
saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I was kind of going along with the kind of the actual like
You didn't do it.
career. I was
You
going
don't
along
like
with
that
the
idea.
actual. I was just going along with the actual like career part of it.
Right, that's what I mean. You don't like that part, do you?
Well, it's not that um, but like I don't know if I'd want to be doing it like every single day or having like
I think it'd be very
really
for me.
like really intense whatever like every whatever.
Think like going with what you're saying. I think with me, if I was an actual judge and I made a mistake, because I convicted the wrong person,
Yeah,
I'd probably have insomnia worse than I already do, and be like taunted by it and have worse PTSD. Because of the regrets. And once it
yeah,
happens, it's law. I mean, let's say they do I forget what they call it, where it goes back to court. But unless they do that, what you say is what's law. And so you would deal with a conviction within yourself of, the whatever mistake, issue, or whatever is my fault kind of troubled.
yeah. It's like this is somebody's life here, and you know, um,
Yeah, like a lot of people.
put if you're accident put an innocent person in jail, you know, which um, I think try not to happen, but I mean it happened. But even though that's not the outcome I would like, but it happens.
But that's still, yeah, it does. And it's still that the judge, like, especially talking when they're young in their career and they're just learning. I mean, that happens. That's reality. People get falsely convicted. And if the judge at some point after that realizes a false conviction, they probably are troubled by it. At least if they're an honest, caring judge that's again compassionate and intends good for Fairchild and the right person to be charged and not somebody other than that right person.
Yeah. Yeah, can be a tricky thing.
Yeah, I see that with me. That'd be a lack of sleep. How dare I do that? I did that. What am I going to do now? Oh my gosh, whoever's, get worried. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to stay neutral when you're, especially have maybe strong feelings one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Trying to say, I think that might be a little hard just at times, but that could be just me.
Right.
Um,
Well, we're in the last 8 or 9 minutes.
yeah. Yeah, we're getting to close to the end here. Is there any other um, things you want to bring up, talk about in the last?
Just ask everybody to, if they want to see podcasts that have me in it, whether it's World of Abilities podcast like this Compassionate Citizen on Wednesdays, and we do everything Wednesdays, or they want to be some of the first people to hear about Jaws Coffee Chat when it comes out, and or about each book every time I release a new book. Please follow us, Facebook at Books by Jennifer A. Whitaker, on Instagram at Jennifer A. Whitaker Books, on Twitter at Jennifer A. WHITA, and on LinkedIn at Books and More by Jennifer A. Whitaker. You can also find more podcasts that I participate on, TV shows I participate on, and other forms of videos that involve me by going to YouTube and looking up Books and More by Jennifer A. Whitaker, and then subscribing. Whichever social media you prefer, or even ideally all of them, please check out our page, subscribe or follow, like, and stay tuned to see future podcasts I'm on here with Emily Gomer as the World of Ability or Compassionate Citizens and so forth, or I'll be with her when Jaws Coffee Chat comes out. But both types of podcasts, you will find both of us, at least the ones that involve both of us, on those social media pages I have shared. Emily?
I was just thinking that we should maybe let everyone know what JAWS stands for.
Jennifer A. Whitaker, the author.
Okay.
And Jaws means Jennifer A. Whitaker's. It's just a nickname for my initials.
Yes.
So by being Jaws Coffee Chat, it's Jennifer A. Whitaker's Coffee Chat, only short and easy to remember.
Yes.
You can come John Long.
And
When we officially launch, at least.
so for anyone, we encourage everybody to tune in or come on any one of our shows, whether it's this one, World of Ability MK Now, World of Women, or the back channel, or Blue Collar Crypto. And
Where should they go if they want to join?
If you are interested in being on um, one of the shows, um, you can email me at emilygulmer@icloud.com. Now that's EMILYGOLLMER at icloud.com. Um, or um, you can also contact the sirens.
I know, I heard it.
The perfect timing for them to go by. Um, Otherwise, you can contact Kurt at 262-372-1754. Um, and a new thing that we recently started. I mean, we'd love everybody to um, join us on the podcast. However, if you have a message you'd like to get put out there, or whatever put out there, but for whatever reason you are unable to actually um, join us on one of the shows, then if you let me know what you want said, I will share it on or say it online on air for you. So if so, there's always that option for everybody.
And if they want you to announce something, can they send it to you in a message on one of your social medias as opposed to only email or text?
Yeah, it could be in any of my social medias or email, text, however you'd like to um, get it to me. Um, and then I can say it on air for you. Um, um, so I think, oh, special thank. Well, we encourage everybody to go to our social media pages and like, share, comment, and so on those. We'd like to let as many people know as possible about all of our shows, and they're welcome to join us at any time. And also special thanks to the Disability Channel, Marcus Hart and the Transformia Media, and the PAC Channel, for allowing us to have our shows on their platforms. And we, for this particular show, we are doing it every few weeks. So I believe our next time for Compassionate Citizen is October 12th. October 12th at 4 Eastern. So for whoever is interested in joining us on that show, just to let me know. And the World of Ability is every Saturday at 3 Eastern. World of Women every Tuesday at 8 Eastern, 8 p.m. Ability MK, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So there's a few times for anybody to tune in. So I guess until next time, I'd say healthy, and happy.